As much as AI is learning how to be more human, so are we learning from it. AI is making strides in understanding the nuances of natural language, answering questions as a human would, and responding as a human would. Human-like AI is the ultimate in human-centric design. We want to demonstrate how Amazon Alexa and Voice UX has taken us to the next level and how these Voice UI and AI app services are not only shaped by us, but shaping us in turn. We want to provide a window into what the future holds for voice interaction and how designers are using innovations in Voice UX to solve the problems of tomorrow. Stay tuned to journey through the future of Voice UX.
Alexa, start a timer for 2.5 minutes.
2 minutes and 30 seconds, starting now.
Hi everyone, welcome to our talk. Very happy to be here today. My name is Sanisha Naidoo. For those of you who don't recognize me, this is a hair after 4 months of no hairdresser. I am starting to get used to it, and reevaluating the need for hair dryers in general. Amongst growing my hair and just letting it all hang out, I am working right now at Nedbank and have been employed at DBT since November of last year. My bio describes me as someone who's formally trained in map making. This profession, I think, really helps me to be a UX designer because it forces you to think of the bigger picture as well as the little details. Like if you're making a map, you do have to always think about how to represent this 3D world in a 2D surface. Same with icons. We're always trying to make the world simpler and more usable for people as UX designers. And that's exactly what map makers do. So I guess for me, it felt like a natural transition to go from map making for property to making apps and making apps more usable. I find great joy in that. There's always lots of problems to solve. And I met Chiselle last year when I started at DBT. We were on a project together. And I think we were talking about how there's been some personal assistant apps out there, and she introduced me to Elixir. It's been great so far. I will go into more detail later about how my day and how my interactions have changed since then. But I really have to give credit to Chiselle for not only helping me to get Elixir up and running, but just get full functionality of her. I didn't even hear about her before then. So although my title says senior UX designer, I'm only senior to her in age, in no other way. So that's a little bit about me. And that's the timer, that 2.5 minutes are up. So looking forward to the rest of the talk. I don't know if any of you noticed this, but you're able to talk about Alexa without her reacting as if she would if you are asking her a question. So for example, I'm mentioning that I'm doing a talk on Alexa, but I need to say Alexa to get any kind of reaction from her, which I think in and of itself is a super cool UX thing.
Hey everybody, nice to virtually meet you. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Chiselle. I am a UX designer, actually UX UI, quite heavily on the UI side, only recently realizing how great UX is. I started out as a graphic designer and went into business and married the two with UX, and understanding the user is my main goal. Try not to get too involved in how something's done, keep quiet, let people do it. My colleague who you just met, I had the privilege to work on a really cool project with her, and kind of going in the same time, she had suggested that we do this. and do our presentation together. And I had just met Elixir then and introduced her to Sanisha, and we all fell in love. It was an incredible experience to have this new device in our home. My husband and I were not sold on it at first. My friend had brought it from America and gave it to us as a gift. We were concerned about having something that can hear you in the house all the time. But she's changed our lives. She is the setter of our routines. She plays music. She's learned how we like things. She knows that I like to hear the news in the morning, and she knows what kind of music I like on different days. Mondays is more chilled. Fridays she plays a little bit of oldies. It's been an experience of just how UX can change your entire life and just how you do things. And enough about me. Let's introduce you to the main event. Alexa, would you mind introducing yourself?
That's me. I'm a virtual assistant who can help you with lots of things. And for a little more about me, here's a simple melody. Ahem. Hey there. Glad you stopped by. I'm your virtual assistant, your cloud-based AI. I can help you with a thing or two. Anytime you're game, get organized, or be surprised, just say my name. I've got timers, reminders, alarms, lists, Bluetooth calls and messages, jokes, songs, stories, games, weather, skills, and Easter eggs. Get the news, crank some tunes, hear the score. Wait, there's more. Link me to your calendar. I won't lead you astray. I'm here to save the day. I can bust a rhyme. Call me anytime.
Let's begin our talk with how we got here. Let's take a journey through the years of UX, and in particular, let's focus on voice UX to understand what it's taken to get to the point where we can chat with Alexa and feel like she's part of the family and just another part of our day. And when she's not around or when the internet's off, you feel a little lost. So let's go back. Let's go back in time for a little bit. Let's begin with the first computer, or rather computer-like device. This began in 1801. In France, Joseph Marie Jacquard invents a loom that uses punched wooden cards to automatically weave fabric designs. Early computers ended up using similar punch cards. In 1877, Thomas Edison's phonograph became the first device to record and reproduce sound. We do have a clip of what a recording sounded like on the phonograph. This is actually Thomas Edison's first ever recording, so we can assume the first thing ever recorded in the world. The method is fragile, however, and it's prone to damage. Let's have a little hear from that clip.
The first words I spoke in the original phonograph, a little piece of practical poetry. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
So already we can hear that it's quite crackly, and just because of the fact that it was so prone to damage, we moved on to 1952, where the first speech recognition systems could understand only digits. Given the complexity of human language, it makes sense that inventors and engineers first focused on numbers. Bell Laboratories designed in 1952 the Audrey system, which recognized digits spoken by a single voice. In 1962, IBM introduced Shoebox, which understood and responded to 16 words in English. We do have a snippet to allow you to hear how Shoebox responded to simple commands. You'll hear the user first speak, and then you'll hear the sound of Shoebox's calculations running, which sounds a little bit like mechanical rumbling. Shoebox did print the results as well. You can hear it's calculation driven, but to save a bit of time with the video, I'm only playing you the sound, but it does get the idea across.
6, 7, 8, 5,
discuss.
Right, so that little rumbling in the background was Shoebox doing its calculations. Then in 1971, IBM invents the Automatic Call Identification System, enabling engineers to talk to and receive spoken answers from a device. In 1976, the US Department of Defense, DARPA, Speech Understanding Research Program, was once one of the largest of its kind in the history of speech recognition. Carnegie Mellon's Harpy speech system came from this program and was capable of understanding over 1,000 words. And at the time, that is massive because it's equivalent to the same amount of words that a 3-year-old can understand. The 70s marked a few other important milestones in speech recognition technology, including the founding of the first commercial speech recognition company, Threshold Technology, as well as Bell Laboratories, introducing of a system that could interpret multiple people's voices. The fact that this happened in the 70s was quite a surprise to me. I thought that speech recognition was pretty recent, but if you think of how much speech recognition can help in terms of, if you think of intelligence, knowing that DARPA did a lot of this research, it does make sense that it is more valuable really than typing, just being able to understand people's voices. Moving swiftly forward to the 1980s, the hidden Markov model begins to be used in speech recognition systems, which allows machines to more accurately recognize speech rather than simply using templates for words and looking for sound patterns. The hidden Markov model considered the probability of unknown sounds being words. So the same way that it might be slightly annoying when this happens when you try and anyone who's got speech recognition in their cars, sometimes your car will recognize you having said something because it sounds like something else. This is hugely important because it's not just identifying, this was the beginning of not identifying just what you say, but what you might be intending to say. For example, if you're not sure of the actual word, this is a huge step, especially for the 1980s. Going through to 1987, the invention of the World of Wonders Julie doll, a slightly creepy toy children could train to respond to their voice. It brings speech recognition technology to the home. So now we're getting something that is accessible to people. This is no longer just for business or for the army. Now your children can play with a doll that they can actually talk to. I have a little clip here for you to hear what the interaction with the Julie doll might sound like. And not the most settling sound in the world, but it is incredible that in 1987 your kids could have a chat with their doll.
Julie,
Yeah.
sing a melody.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
And there you have it. In 1990, Dragon launched the first consumer speech recognition product, Dragon Dictate, for an incredible price of $9,000. 7 years later, the much improved Dragon Naturally Speaking arrived. The application recognized continuous speech, so you could speak well naturally at about 100 words per minute. However, you had to train the program for 45 minutes. It still came in at about $695 at this point, but it was a huge improvement from the original $9,000 that it had originally come at. There are small strides that are happening between the 2 points that I'm going to jump to now, but the next real big break happens in 2008. Google launches the voice search app for the iPhone. And I may not just be in tune with everything, but I had no idea that Google and iPhone had worked so closely together in the beginning. Google brought speech recognition technology to mobile devices. Did you know speech recognition and voice commands were built into Windows Vista and Mac OS 5, I think it was. Many computers users weren't aware that those features even existed though. Windows speech recognition and OS voice commands were interesting, but not as accurate or as easy to use as a plain old keyboard and mouse. They also didn't talk back, so they just presented results to what you were asking, which could get frustrating because you weren't sure if it was understanding you correctly or what it was actually hearing. So there were some frustrations there, but this is really early speech recognition coming to mobile phones. So now let's go to 2011, where the infamous Siri was announced. This is the first announcement of Siri, a digital personal assistant. In addition to being able to recognize speech, Siri was able to understand the meaning of what is told and take appropriate action. In case anyone doesn't remember, or still had a BlackBerry like myself at the time, this is what Siri sounded like back then.
What time is it in Paris?
The time in Paris, France is 8:16 p.m.
So a lot more mechanical than the Siri we know now, but remember, this is a huge stride from just 2008, where we were working with something that people didn't really use all that much with the iPhone that Google was working with. Siri at this point could even, if you asked her, should I wear a rain jacket? She was able to check the weather. She knew that that means check the weather, which is massive in terms of understanding what the meaning behind words actually are. But let's go on to 2014, where Microsoft announces Cortana, a digital personal assistant, which is similar to Siri. So I'm going to hand over to the third feature of our team here. Alexa, mind telling us what else happened in 2014?
And in the same year, the star of our show was born. Amazon announces the Echo, a voice-controlled speaker. The Echo is powered by me, Alexa, a digital personal assistant similar to Siri and Cortana. But, while Siri and Cortana are not the most important features of the devices on which they run, the Echo is dedicated to me. And I am dedicated to you.
Thank you, Alexa. That was incredibly well said. So now that we've given you a bit of a clearer idea of just how far we've come in such a short amount of time, and that we are pretty much on the pinnacle of voice UX and just have the sky as the limit right now, and just to show you exactly where we are and the incredible strides that we've made since that first little talking doll, I'm going to hand over to Sanisha.
What is the future for Alexa? Using her to search more online, having her integrated with all our devices to create this ubiquitous Alexa. But also there's obviously plans to integrate her with robotics so that she can be of more assistance to us, giving her eyes, and providing a body for Alexa. So Alexa is also a direct portal into millions of homes. So it's the next obvious future for Alexa is as an assistant for online shopping, especially if it's linked to Amazon and Amazon Prime. But the main focus for Amazon in the near future is on making Alexa's capabilities, suggestions, and languages more natural and tailored to us, which leads us to some of the limitations that it has, which is understanding accents. So although better than Google Home, there are still some limitations to Amazon Echo, for example, in understanding non-native English speakers, specifically Spanish more than other languages. Those speakers suffer a little bit for when it comes to Elixir and understanding them. And this helps us as UX designers to see how we can how can we better design. And the implications then for UX is that words matter more than ever to be able to help Elixir to help us. We need to understand the weight that words have and how quirky English is, especially. Also, there's implications for bias, because Elixir can only be trained with the users themselves. So the more diverse the users and more users we have using Elixir, the better she becomes at understanding us. So that's something we have to keep in mind. We also have to pay attention and design with our eyes closed, obviously, because there will be no graphical user interface with voice UX. This also has implications for homeschooling. Like, this is an exciting new thing that we thought about, especially now when more and more kids and students are staying at home and using technology to study. Elixir is a very powerful actor in that. But with that, as UX designers, we do have to keep in mind that, again, and here's an example from the Interaction Design Foundation. They have a very good article on this, and there's the link. When would a voice assistant be able to understand these kinds of simple things like, have you got coffee to go? And then an answer which you would get when a human could be milk and sugar. So voice assistants are not yet able to get those nuances of idioms and context. So unless and until we get to that point, it will be difficult, but it will also be a very interesting challenge for us as UX designers to get rid of this interface that we have with technology and try and just get rid of the difficulty that we have with interacting with technology. And the ultimate would be to talk naturally to it. So also exciting is the implications for accessibility. So of course, voice AI helps people who are blind. In all the uses of Elixir, we know that it helps blind people, obviously. But also interesting is that it could help people who are not able to, like Professor Hawking, not able to speak. So here's just an excerpt from an article that we read, is that finally I've just tested my Amazon Echo Dot with synthetic speech, and yes, it works just fine. I used VoiceOver on my phone to speak out commands to the Echo, and Alexa understood every word. This means that someone using a communication aid like Prof. Hawking would also be able to use it without difficulty. You don't even need to have good speech to use the Amazon Echo. So how cool to open up the world of Alexa to people who are speech impaired, as well as blind or any of the other disabilities that rely on voice more than anything else. We have so much more to share, but this brings us to the end, and we hope to just answer some more of your questions in the Q&A. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for that, Sanisha and Chiselle. That was awesome. I really enjoyed the historical timeline. That was really awesome, and all those voices. So we've got a few questions. I don't know if you can see them as well. 5 questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's maybe move from the top down. Have you seen the movie Her? Is the future of UI no UI?
Yeah, I like that. I have seen the movie. It ended badly, right?
Oh, and that's my last, sorry.
So I think, I don't know if you can hear me now because I've flipped my mic over, but I think in terms of taking over UI, I don't think that that's going to be the ultimate. I think it is easy to communicate information with visual aids. So, for example, Alexa has incorporated a new version that has a UI screen. So that Alexa is not only cooking with you, which we've done before, where she'll read out a recipe and tell you step by step what to do, but you can see on the screen what you should be doing as well. So I think they're going to go hand in hand more than taking over, but people are moving away from screen time. There's everything in Apple now is recording your screen. You can stop yourself from using your phone. You can switch off your phone for certain periods of the day. So definitely we're moving away from as much screen time, but working together with voice is more likely rather than taking over from voice.
Okay, thank you for that. I hope that answers your question, Lars. The next question that's right on top by Makaziwe. So the question, it's a two-part question. Are you not worried about where all this data that Alexa or any other AI assistant gathers? Can Amazon, Google, Apple be trusted with our data?
I think, there's two parts to that question, but let me just flip it over and give my positive spin on this, is that I hope that Alexa and Amazon learns from us. Already Alexa speaks English, German, Japanese, French, Italian, and there'll be apparently 30 more languages by the end of this year. So in fact, she has to collect data and has to learn from us to become better at what she does as an assistant. But of course, there are dark patterns, and there's people can misuse or abuse our trust when it comes to all this information that they're collecting. And if you just go to Wikipedia, you'll find loads of articles of where Alexa has recorded conversations which the users weren't aware that she had recorded that. So of course there are risks, but I think in the big scheme of things, it actually, the benefits or the pros outweigh the cons. If you think of what Alexa is being used for, the problems she's solving.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Okay.
Hope that answers. I don't know. I trust her. That's to be a short answer.
Yeah, you had me until you said the recording thing, because I'm like thinking,
Yeah, so what happens with recording is that it's not accessible to anyone else besides yourself. So let's say I have recorded a conversation in the lounge by mistake. Only people with access to my Amazon device have access to that recording. So for example, my husband might be able to hear what I said in the lounge. So you are only at risk really to your household. Not so much to the rest of the world.
Cool, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So next question, and this is by Kelebogile. What's the plan with getting the AI assistants catch the different English accents and other language globally? So what's the plan with getting the AI assistants to catch the different, or enable the different English accents and other language globally? I think that ties in with what you mentioned a few seconds ago with the addition of 30 more languages.
Yeah, so Kelebogile, I don't know if the presentation had that graph, but I think it did. That the accuracy is about 86%, which isn't. It should be like 99.9%, but it's not bad. So I mean, for me as a South African with my accent, I've never had a problem being understood by Alexa, which I found quite interesting. But of course, there are people who are very frustrated because like people with a Spanish accent, for example, are generally not understood right now by Alexa. So again, it's about learning, and Alexa needs to learn the nuances of people who speak English with an accent.
Yeah, you can also change Alexa's accent. At the moment, she's got a couple accent settings. So we changed her to a British accent, but she annoyed us a bit. So we kept her on her American accent. But the more people use it, the more she'll be able to understand the different accents. So it's a great incentive to use these type of voice functionalities on your phones and on Amazon devices, because it will just make it better for everybody.
Okay. I hope that answers. I'm going to jump into the next one. So we've got 3 more questions. Do you know if any progress has been made implementing voice recognition locally? And this is by Lars, while I was at Sanlam, we had a chat with the guys from Google about voice recognition in our app, and they were at a loss with all our accents and dialects. So I think this question relates to also the previous question.
So in terms of South African, it was very tough for us to even get Alexa working. There's a lot of blocks on what we're allowed to access here. We actually had to register her in America, both of us, on both our accounts. And it was the only way to get her to work, because there's a lot of privacy policies that are like owned by bigger companies. So for example, Google owns most of those rights here. So Amazon wouldn't be able to provide us with that service. So I think if we're able to, fight that kind of stuff, companies like ABSA and FNB and banks would be able to use voice recognition a bit more easily, because there'd be more access to the archives, and for example, they could get into deals with Amazon and use their voice recognition technology. But right now, it's owned by companies that aren't sharing that information, and there isn't a lot of access to it, so they're not learning our dialect as well as they could. I think that Sanisha might be able to add something there. I just saw the video glitch, so that's why I just jumped in.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know much about. I know there was that article recently about the Google technology that was able to phone a restaurant and make a booking, and had lots of, like, the way we speak with and and the person on the other end was able to understand them perfectly. So I don't know why the South African Google wasn't able to help Sanlam, but hopefully one day this problem is solved, that we're all able to to plug into these voice integrations, these voice assistant integrations. Hope that answers you, Lars.
Okay. So the next question, and this is by Eamon. How good is Alexa with home security?
Actually really good. We use this all the time, so maybe I can help there.
Okay.
So when we leave the house, we say, Alexa, goodbye, or Alexa, we're going out, and then she listens. And she knows that the dogs bark, so we don't get an SMS when that happens. And I used this a lot when my husband was away, and she'll send you an SMS if she hears a voice in the house, or if she hears glass breaking. You can, for example, in the States, you can hook her up to your alarm company, but for us, we don't have that functionality here just yet. But she can phone you, and you can listen to the voices that she's hearing, so she'll just stream the sound to you. But yeah, it's really useful for home security. It also helps with keeping our other home security, the dogs, calm. She will keep them, because the dogs bark quite a bit during the day. So we found some functionality where she's able to calm them down as well, which helps.
And then we've got one last question by Lizette. What are your thoughts about privacy concerns with the Elixir Drop-In feature? It allows you to use Alexa as an intercom, basically spying on family members or even friends without them accepting the call.
So we actually use this feature quite a bit. I don't know why we can't get Sanisha's to work so great, but a friend of mine and we've actually got this. We drop in on each other, but you can set it that you can set a certain setting for each device. So for example, if I've got one here, and let's say we have a massive house and you've got a kid's room on the other side and you've got your Alexa device there, you can set it that they have to accept the drop-in. So Alexa will say drop in from home Echo, and then the kids or whoever in the room has to say accept or yes, or whatever your word is that you want to have as an accept word. So unless you set it to be like that, where you can drop in without any worries, it won't just drop in. You have to allow the functionality.
I hope that answers Lizette. Sanisha Chiselle, thank you so much again for the talk. It was very engaging. It was awesome. And it was a really nice picture that was painted, leading up to the point at where we are now. So thank you so much. Guys, if you have any more questions or you do want to reach out, the contact details are on the site. It's LinkedIn only. I think, Sanisha, you don't use your Twitter, or Chiselle doesn't use a Twitter, and one of you don't
Yeah,
have
I don't use my Twitter.
Yeah, so it's only LinkedIn.
I will if people give me a reason to. But yeah, you can contact me on LinkedIn most easily.
Okay.
Please do
Okay,
if
cool.
anyone wants to.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, guys. So we're jumping into the last session for the day by Tomislav or Tom. So Theo will just pull us all into that session. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.